Hi, this is Chrissy Incognito, and welcome to another episode of my show. Now, you might be wondering why I'm incognito. This is my alter ego that can say things that I cannot otherwise say unless I was incognito. So, thank you for returning. In order to understand more about this episode, please view the previous episode. Happy listening. Okay, so thank you for returning. So, this is going to be a bridge episode. Now, a bridge episode connects two of the ideas. So, I talked about the mental illness, and then I will be talking about Brian, but you need to know a little bit more information in order to bridge the gap between the two episodes. So going back to the Michael episode. So, we had that whole scare. It was, and you got to remember, I'm recalling it when I was 16. So it was terrifying to me. The whole experience, the whole scare and everything. And then not to mention how verbally abusive Michael was in that relationship. So that whole thing left a bad taste in my mouth. Okay. So we have that. Now we have the HIV AIDS scare, okay? And that whole thing, which just seemed to reinforce my germ phobia and my contamination phobia. So what do um, the Michael uh, incident and the HIV incident have in common? I'll give you a second to answer. Okay. You can get both from sex, okay? Obviously, you get a a pregnancy scare from sex, and you can also pick up a disease, a sexually transmitted disease, and in this case, it was, my fear was HIV from sex. So now anything related to intimacy or being involved in somebody is just even more horrific than previous. So with the Michael thing, it was pretty bad, meaning that the kind of bad taste it left in my mouth and everything. And now you have the HIV scare. So when I met Brian, these 2, um, fears were fighting for a place in my brain, and both of them were winning at the same time. It's like, "No, I'm gonna drive her crazy with this one. No, I'm gonna drive her crazy with that one," right? Which one could do the most harm in my brain? That's what I felt like, these 2 incidents were fighting about. So when Brian came along, I was not really stable. So I had started to go to therapy at some point, and this was after the HIV scare. I started to go to therapy, and I did not really talk about this. And part of it, I just wanted to forget both incidences. Second, I did not really know how to communicate it. Um, so it would have had to bring up a lot of stuff that I knew was kind of irrational. Um, but maybe I needed it to be irrational in order to keep me safe in a sense. So I did not bring these two incidences up to my therapist. I would have now, you know what I mean? If this was bothering me now, I would have completely done it because um that's the only way you get past it. But when you're in the thick of things, you don't even wanna be dealing with it on an everyday basis, whatever it is, whatever the problem is, let alone hashing it out in therapy. So when I went to my therapist, it was more about my irrational, fear of contamination, um, just, a little bit of agoraphobia because that's what direction I started to go down. Um, so we did not really talk about the 2 main things that we probably should have been talking about, but A, I wasn't strong enough to talk about it, and B, I wouldn't have even known where to start to communicate everything what was going on, at these 2 times. And so I was not very stable when I met Brian, and that poor thing, he didn't understand, which is understandable that he didn't understand because it was just this insane crap that was going on in my brain. Now, somewhere in there, I did get on medicine, and it did kinda stabilize me, but it wasn't like the medicine I have, more recently. So it was trying to help. It helped in some areas. And then I think one of the reasons I went off of it was I felt like it wasn't helping or it wasn't helping enough. Um, so I was kind of like, why even go down this path if it's not doing what it's supposed to do? And I probably decompensated and I didn't really realize it, and then so somewhere in there, I probably started to say, "I can't live like this again," and then go back on the medicine. So I stayed in therapy for, let's see, from 93 to 99, and then I moved. So I had to go see another therapist, and, but the one that I was mainly was with was during that time period, and she was very instrumental in stabilizing me. The problem is that when it's an organic issue, meaning that there's just something chemically off or something that's not physically working properly, there's only so much talk therapy can do. Um, so I was really dealing with all of that, and so that is one of the reasons why my relationship with Brian just it couldn't be sustained. And I just honestly I did not have the capacity to be a healthy partner at that time. So I just wanted to do a little bridge episode, just to bridge it in between. So when you listen to the next episode, it may make a little bit more sense of where my mindset was. All right. Well, thank you. And as always, I wish you happy listening.